You mentioned food security. Can you say that Eritreans, or for that matter, Eritrea has food security, that it doesn't need foreign aid to feed its people and all that?
That's the problem in Africa. It's not here in Eritrea, and the way you ask the question always puzzles me, because is the alternative for us aid? And we just simply compare things. If we don't have it, then we'll have to get it from someone. Why can't we think of generating our own resources and capacity to solve this problem? How do we guarantee food security? It involves water and soil conservation programs, extensive infrastructural programs, human resource development, education, health. It's a product or a result of so many endeavors in a number of sectors, and finally you guarantee. When you guarantee food security, it means you've been able to put in place an infrastructure for development.
Mr. President, what would you say has been the measures you put in place you talked about without aid? Eritrea has been able to achieve certain benchmarks of guaranteeing food and development. How did you do it?
It's a very dynamic process. It takes time, but you need to know the basics. The basics are mobilizing the population, preparing them at least morally and emotionally, and finally developing the skills and the capability to implement and make the program successful.
Now shifting our focus to East Africa, where farmers in Kenya are resisting an initiative by the government to vaccinate the country's livestock. Kenya is due to kick off an ambitious initiative this week to vaccinate all livestock in the country, but that initiative is being met by protests and resistance from local farmers, driven by misleading claims about the vaccines, as well as the belief that Microsoft co-founder Bill Gates was funding the project. Last year, the William Ruto government announced plans to vaccinate at least 22 million cattle and 50 million goats and sheep over 3 years. The government explained that the program would help to prevent animal diseases and thus secure the international market for livestock products. Currently, only 10% of the national herd have the necessary vaccinations, and the authorities say they want to raise the rate to 85% to make Kenya's livestock products eligible for export. The government said that it would cost farmers nothing to get their animals vaccinated, as it was footing the bill.
Cows and other grass-eating species have a digestion system that emits methane, and methane is a very powerful greenhouse gas. And so cows alone account for about 6% of global emissions. And so we need to change cows, just cows alone.
How are we going to do that?
Well, actually, of all the categories, the one that has gone better than I would have expected 5 years ago is this work to make what's called artificial meat. And so you have people like Impossible or Beyond Meat, both of which I invested in.
You eat it as well, and you like it?
Absolutely. You can go to Burger King and buy the Impossible Burger.
All right. Is it healthier for you or just healthier for the atmosphere?
It's slightly healthier for you in terms of less cholesterol. It's, of course, dramatic reduction in methane emissions, animal cruelty, manure management, and the pressure that meat consumption puts on land use. You know, the main reason why we need to increase agricultural output over the rest of this century is not the population increase. It's that as countries get richer, they eat more meat, and meat is a very inefficient way of creating calories. And so it's super helpful.
Once you vaccinate these animals, and these animals feed human beings meat, milk is affected. These vaccines are actually mRNA vaccines that they're injecting in the animals. Once you inject an mRNA, it doesn't die. It goes to the milk, it goes to the meat. So in turn, you're vaccinating the human beings through the kind of foods that they are consuming. If WHO is going to roll out a vaccine, but you've gotten 80% of funding on that project by the company that actually manufactures that vaccine, what does that tell you? Conflict of interest. This WHO that we trust is actually killing human beings in the name of health. The biggest scam in humanity was the COVID vaccine. Many people are not able to connect the dots, but you can connect these dots. You can connect the agriculture bills, the GMO, you can the vaccine, you can actually connect them to one person. Bill Gates is the one single owner of most GMO patents. So when we talk about GMO, it is him and his foundation.
Why is Bill Gates always so interested in Africa and Africa matters?
He's a psychopath. I'll just tell you. He's a representation of the globalists, the people, the proponents of the New World Order that are so engrossed in ruling the world. They are so engrossed in controlling humanity that feel they're actually gods in their own space.
So why do our politicians act as zombies, as if they don't know these things? And what are they doing to protect their citizens?
The love of money, especially in this country, is the cause of all our problems. The love that our politicians have for money. A Kenyan politician mention the money and they'll push a bill that they know is coming to finish the people.
Now, however, critics have questioned and opposed the vaccination drive and the effectiveness of the vaccines. Without providing any significant evidence, livestock farmers have expressed concerns that the vaccination program is meant to sabotage their herds. Those who oppose the program believe that Bill Gates is funding the project in Kenya, and this was fueled by people sharing videos of his interview on social media platforms talking about vaccinating cows to control methane emissions. Now, methane emitted by livestock, belching and farting contributes about 15% of global emissions each year. According to the United Nations, it is the most common greenhouse gas after carbon dioxide. Gates has previously invested in projects to reduce methane emissions from cattle and is currently funding a US-based company looking to develop a vaccine. Now, Gates was also at the center of a controversy in Kenya last year after the Kenyan government decided to grant diplomatic immunity to his foundation. But despite the government denying that Gates or any other foreign sources have provided funding to the project, conspiracy theories have been doing the rounds on social media, and the issue has become a subject of political discussion in Kenya. Many people have said that they would resist the jabs for their cattle, adding that no one will be allowed to vaccinate their livestock just because Bill Gates said so, while others have said that there are millions of cows in Europe and America that should be vaccinated first. Opposition leaders in Kenya have also blamed President William Ruto for advancing a sinister foreign agenda and violating the constitution by undertaking this vaccination program. President Ruto, for his part, has dismissed the views of those opposing the vaccinations. He has called it simply misguided, unreasonable, and possibly stupid. Yet experts believe that the spread of such conspiracy theories is down to poor communication by Ruto himself, as well as low trust in his government following the anti-tax protests last year and a series of corruption scandals. When Ruto first announced the vaccination program, details were extremely scant and it was not clear what the animals would be vaccinated against. And this is when reports suggest that there was a clear spike in mentions of both Gates and cows by social media accounts with their location listed as Kenya. The furor grew into a matter of national debate, with cartoonists pushing for cattle rights on social media with comical images captioned, "My fart, my choice." Now, this even led the Kenya Veterinary Association calling on the government to halt the vaccination exercise and to conduct a public awareness campaign first. Now, while the government has reassured the farmers that the vaccines are being produced locally, locals have continued to resist the move, citing possible foreign influence, particularly from the American billionaire Bill Gates.